Hi guys. This is one of the first video tutorial that I'm gonna do, or we can call it just a little show and tell about the comprehensive ranking system score. A lot of people contact me on Twitter via DM and ask about what they need to do when they want to immigrate to Canada, for example. And one of the routes that you can take through the Canadian migration is the express entry route. And this tool is going to help you to understand what you actually need to get started. The first aspect of the comprehensive ranking system score, or the CRS score, takes 5 key areas. The first thing it takes is about your skills, your education, your language ability, work experience, and other factors. Your skills essentially is what you can offer the Canadian economy. Your education is how educated you are in terms of how you can adapt to the Canadian economy in terms of looking for job, because that is the sole purpose of you migrating. Also, your language ability. Canada, they speak two languages, French and English. So if you're fluent in English and if you're fluent in French, you need to show evidence that you can speak and write and understand these languages very well, because obviously when you're working, you're going to be talking or communicating with those two languages. Another aspect is your work experience. Your work experience, where you're coming from, what you've done in the past, so that does it fit into what Canada is looking for. And other factors is how you can assimilate or how you can integrate into the country better. So if you have a family connection and all that, or you study in Canada, so that will help you to get some other point. So the comprehensive ranking score is a score that is given based on these categories. So you'll be able to know what score you have, so that when you complete your express entry profile, then you know at least the score you have. This score also could attract you to get nominated by some province as well. And when you get nominated by some province, this increases your score further. Now, this is the website, is the official government site, because a lot of people on Twitter or on Instagram or Facebook talk about Canada migration, but sometimes they don't really show you how this thing work. Maybe because they want you to pay them some money or what, but I believe sharing this information ensures that people get the right information that they need. So the page is simple. You just go to this page and you realize that if you look at this, it says this tool will help you calculate your comprehensive ranking score based on the answers you provide. Below, the CRS is a point-based system that we use to assess and score your profile and rank it in the express entry pool. Okay, and they use these 5 categories to rank, to assess and determine what your score is based on the answer that you provide. Another thing I want to point out is that you don't have to have all the skills or the education, the language, the work experience. You don't have to have them before you can use this system to determine what your CRS score is. You can use this provisionally and like saying, okay, in the next 2 years, I expect to have this score. So that is what I'm going to use to check my comprehensive ranking score now. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do some couple of examples. And the first thing in this tool is it asks for your marital status. The first thing, marital status, whether you're married or single or whatever. So I would just say, let's say never married, single. Now it asks you of your age. Now, an average Nigerian that want to travel sometimes might be of 35 years old. Let's say 35. Now it asks you what is your level of education. And it says this education should be what you earned in Canada, Canadian degree. Note, diploma certificate must be earned, and distant learning count for education point, but for bonus points in your profile education. So if you study in Canada, you can always put that. So if you don't have, just say none. The next thing you say is, have you earned a Canadian degree? No. So you say no. And also you said, have you so the official language of Canada is official language are English, and you say, let's assume you say no in the language. Immediately you say no in the language, you can't continue, because the first requirement for you is to have a language requirement. Language requirements. You must have language requirements. If you do not have a language requirement, if you don't have IELTS, no way of even knowing your comprehensive ranking score. You can never know that. So I'll just assume you have your IELTS. So it asks you again, what language did you take for your first official language? So you say IELTS. Now, what is the score? You can decide and say, all right, do I want to give myself a higher score? That is if you've not written the test. So think and say, okay, what score can I possibly aim at? You don't necessarily have to get the highest score, all right? Getting the highest score will give you the maximum point for this category of of language, but you don't have to get that. So let's say you have 7 for speaking, 8 points, and you say 7 for reading, and let's say 7 for writing. It asks you again, do you have any other language test? No. But if you have French, you can just put the equivalent there. Work experience in the last 10 years. You say, how many years of skilled work experience in Canada do you have? You have none. So you simply say no. In the last 10 years, how many total years of foreign skilled work experience you have? So think about it and say, now, if you have 1 year experience, just put 1 year experience. If you have 2 year experience, put 1 year. Put 2 years. But remember, your English language test is going to expire 2 years. So if you have 1 year experience now, and you're still going to be in that job, right? Preferably, you could put your 3 years experience. And if you have more than 3 years experience, you can put that. But know that the information you provide in this to help you determine your score, and if you use this score to create your profile in the Express Entry pool, note that this information is going to be required if you have been invited to apply for permanent residency. So you will have to provide evidence that you score 7 points in speaking, 8.0 in listening, and all that. If you don't have it, don't just put it. If you know you're not going to get to that point, know how to adjust your CRS score here. Now you say, in the last time, how many foreign skills? You say 3 years or more. Do you have a certificate or qualification from a Canadian province? You say no. Additional point, do you have a valid job assessment? Now, if you have a job offer in Canada, fine. If you don't, just say no. Do you have a nomination certificate? Note, at this point, even if you don't have a nomination certificate from a province or a territory, it doesn't matter, because some province or some territory will check your profile, and based on your profile, they can nominate you, and that automatically will give you more score. So you put no. Do you or your spouse or common law, if you come have since you've said you are not married, you just say no. So now you calculate your score. Now, if you look at your score here, it gives you a total of 251. That is what you got, 251. Now, what you need to look at again is you need to go back to everything that you did from the first thing. So, here you say married, you say what is your level of education? Enter the highest level of education for which you earn a Canadian degree or diploma or certificate, had an education assessment. If you did your study outside of Canada, years must be approved in the last 5 years, not a Canadian degree must have. So you can put here that you have, let's say you have a bachelor's degree, right? Now, let us recalculate our score. You see that the language here changes immediately. It gives you 120 points. Now, if you look at your score from 251 to that, just simply by having a degree. Now, a lot of people have asked me whether if you have a PhD or a master's degree is actually going to help a lot. But let us look at the score again and let's see what you have for level of education, which is 120, and you have your total score 396. Now, even if I change my degree to, let's say, a PhD, right? And I calculate my score, I only just have 30 points. So having a PhD will not necessarily give you more points than 150. Fact. Now, if you look at your total score, 451, it didn't really increase it much. So don't think you need a PhD degree to migrate to Canada on express entry. You do not. All right. So don't, because not everybody is going to have PhD. Not everybody will even have a master's degree. And instead of trying to kill yourself or stress yourself for having a PhD or a master's degree, if you have just a bachelor's degree, and let's assume you have higher score in your English language test, let's see what your score would be. Now, 408, which is not really different from 451 that you had when you had a PhD. So your PhD isn't going to do much in the real sense of it. Now let's look at it. If a territory or a province nominates you, because some of the province I've actually sent email to some of the province, and some of them will actually they will nominate you if your profile matches, even if you have a comprehensive ranking score of 300. So even without you having that highest score in English, in your IELTS test score, you can still get nominated depending on the province. But if you can score highest, go for it. Score highest, because that will also increase your chances of even getting nominated. Also, apart from being nominated, is if you have a family relative in Canada. So this is not a time for you to feel a bit shy, who you're going to talk to. Maybe they will help you or not. No, you need to talk to people. If you know you are a family member, those who are blood related to you, your partner, so just know you can get points on that as well. And if I recalculate it, you can see it increases a little bit, but then it does not increase it a little. It does not give you that maximum point as well. So things that you should not worry too much about. If you look at it, I select it, no, 423, 408, just about how many points, not so much. It's not even up to 15 points. So now, if you look at this, if you have a job offer, do you really want to be stressing? Technically, you will not get a job offer. So don't let anybody put your hopes high. the reality is you won't get a job offer before you having this. So don't do your comprehensive ranking score with high hopes, because if you say you have a job offer and you recalculate, it still does not add much. So don't stress yourself too much about that. So I would just leave this as no, you don't have a job offer. You have your 3 years or more, and you can prove that as well, and you have your high ELTS result. But the first requirement is you must have your high ELTS result and you have your degree. Now, let's see if you have secondary school diploma. Now, let's calculate what's going to happen. Before, we say our total point was 408. Now, your point drops to 293. Now, this will not get you a nomination, even if a province will nominate people with a CRS score of 300. So, how can you go about it? I would suggest you try as much as possible to work, because now you've exhausted your high score here, so you cannot get any more score here. But then how can you get something? So let's assume you are of a lesser age of, let's say, 25. Let's see what's going to happen. And you calculate that. Now you see your age increases and you have 302. So sometimes you don't even need to have a degree to get a score of 300 that some province can nominate you for. What matter is the skills that you can bring into Canada, because when you apply, your application is still going to be considered based on the information you submit, you chose, you fill in your profile, and with your documentation. So I believe what you need to do is come on these two and just juggle it as it fits your own requirements. You know, a lot of people might be over 25. If that is the case for you, you put it there. If you know you're gonna be more than 25 years in 2 years time, of course, which you will be, you put 27 years. If you know you're gonna graduate in the next 2 years, you put your bachelor's degree, because that shows you that you can meet the requirements, and with that you get your score 444. So this is how you ensure that each of your comprehensive ranking score is calculated well. You can come here every time. It is a free site. You don't need to pay anybody to do it for you. You can just come here and do it yourself with about 150 naira. Even if you don't have data on your phone, you can go to a cyber cafe in Nigeria and you can do it yourself. You don't really need it. And also try as much as possible to contact province yourself. Some province will give you what they do. Some province will not nominate you unless you have a profile already. And for you to be able to have a profile, you need to be able to determine your comprehensive ranking score. And note, you need to ensure that you have your IELTS score done. So before you create your profile, before you do that, make sure you have your IELTS score ready, because you're going to be confirming when you did the test and all that. So the first step you need in Canada migration at all on the express entry category is to ensure that you have your IELTS, which is International English Language Test. That is what you need. You don't have that IELTS, don't even bother coming to check your CRS score, because it will not proceed past that stage. If you have any question, you can send me an email, you can send, and I'll be glad to respond. You can DM me as well, and I will respond as much as I can. I hope this is a bit informative for you, and thank you for listening.